Your habits and patterning dictate your life. Have you ever noticed that there are certain situations that you enter and things just habitually happen? Whether that's be when you get home, you want to go sit on the couch, or you reach a certain situation and you go for the food, you get bored, you go to the fridge, you're standing in line, you whip out your phone, you sit on the toilet, you whip out your phone. The amount of places where we whip out our phone because we can't be bored for 30 seconds. But that's a different argument altogether. But there are sequences and habits in our life that will dictate more than anything. How many people don't even think about what they're doing? They wake up and they follow the exact same routine every single day. They do the same thing over and over and over again. It's estimated that something like 95% of our life is run on autopilot and habits, that 5% is conscious. This is because, well, if we had to actually consciously acknowledge and make decisions about everything, we'd never do anything. It would be too much. Too much would be going on. There'd be too much going through our head at all times that we couldn't possibly wrap our heads around. So only the bare minimum, the most quote-unquote important decisions are actually made consciously. The rest are run on whatever patterning we have developed ahead of time. But this in itself is a problem because, well, when was that patterning installed? Did you do it deliberately? Did you make clear and conscious decisions around these patternings? Was it on purpose, or is this just, well, where you fucking ended up? Right there. I've been trying to work on not swearing as much. As you can tell, it's not quite working, but that's a patterning thing. And the same can be said for most of our lives, that it isn't a choice, it isn't a decision, it just, well, is. That's who we are, that's how we go, that's what's transpired. And if we want to actually make a difference in our life, we have to start being conscious of the patterning and the habits that we have ingrained in us. It's why when we talk about, demanding greatness, it's broken into 126-day phases. And people are like, why 126? Because it takes 126 days to replace a negative habit with a positive habit. It's not this 28-day, 21-day quick fix bullshit that people try and spout. It takes 126 days where you do it every single day. No exception, no misses, no days off, nothing but doing the work to build a new habit and some new neuro pathways and programming in your mind. That's why most people, and let's be honest here, it is most people will never succeed at getting fit and healthy. They will never succeed in changing their lives. They revert back to their old patterns. They make a change, and sometimes it's longer. Sometimes it's, not just the 90-day quick turnaround. Sometimes it's a year or 2 years, sometimes even 3 years, but they haven't actually fundamentally changed who they are because they still have these days off. They still have these setbacks. They still have these moments where that old version kicks back in. So yeah, they're consistent while the motivation is high, but when life happens, when your back is against the wall, well, suddenly you discover who you truly are. Suddenly you discover what's actually going on up here. When you're no longer in a situation where you can control it, where you feel empowered to, suddenly you really find out what your programming is and what's going on there. And that's when we lose it. And that's when people end up back at the start. It's when they revert back to their old patterning. And that's why it's so important that, especially in those first 126 days, you don't give yourself an option. Zero choice mentality. keep coming back to this and keep coming back to it, and I will keep coming back to it. People want to argue that it's, restrictive and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, sure, I get that. I do, actually. But you know what's also restrictive? Not living the life you want. Hating the life that you have. Being disappointed, ashamed, and regretting where you've ended up. To be honest, I think that's way more restrictive than putting down some hard and fast rules about what you will tolerate in your life. Because remember, we don't get what we want, what we need, what we desire, any of that bullshit. No, we get what we will tolerate. So if you aren't happy with where you're at, if you aren't happy with what's going on, you have to change what you're willing to tolerate. Only then will things actually shift. And you have to rewire, as I said, your personality, who you are, how you fundamentally believe things. Because it's like an injury that, you can have it manipulated. Like if you go to the physio, for example, and you got a shoulder injury and you get that shoulder manipulated and it feels great. And then a week later, you're back to where you were. And so you go back in again and they manipulate and you feel great. And you just stay stuck on this cycle. Well, that's because, you're stuck on the cycle. You're manipulating the situation. You aren't actually fundamentally addressing and changing the problem. You're just, getting some soft tissue in there and releasing a few knots and that kind of stuff. But if you're not retraining the muscle, or the mind in this situation, to being something different, you're going to keep reverting back. It's why most people never actually address their injuries completely, because your body has rewired itself to a new situation. And it's the same with your life. Your body has wired itself to, this is who I am. This is my core fundamental homeostasis, level thermostat, whatever terminology and phrasing you want to utilize for it. This is where I'm at. So you can go up and you can go down and you can go left and right and sideways, but you're always returning to this center point, this homeostasis point, that your brain and neuro pathways and physiology and everything goes, this is who I am. Therefore, this is who I have to return to. So unless you change that North Star, that point of how you define yourself, shockingly, you're going to keep returning back to it. It's why I fundamentally believe that the majority of fitness programs never work. Because people literally go in with the idea in their head that I'm going to do this for 90 days, 120 days, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it might be, whether it's short-term, long-term, or what, and then return back to who I am. No, you need to eradicate that version of yourself. You need to say goodbye to that version of you. You need to kill them. They need to be ended. They need to be done and dusted. And you need to go, I am moving on to the next phase of my life. I am moving on to the next version of myself. And then never look back at it. You have to end that. It's like you can't read the next chapter while constantly rereading the last one. While you were stuck on this version of you, you're forever going to be stuck. While you're stuck on this version of you, you're forever going to be repeating those patterns over and over and over again. So you must rewire them. You must change them. You must not just think about it, but fundamentally and actively choose to become the best version of yourself with that. To let go of the past, let go of that version and step into the new version of you. You must rewire your brain and be like, I am a strong, fit, and healthy man. I'm a man of my word, I'm a man of discipline, I'm a man of all these kinds of things. And you keep repeating those things to yourself, and you keep acting in ways that, show that that is true. That you keep showing up as that version of yourself until you've stacked so much credibility, so many receipts, that it's undeniable that that is who you are. That everybody knows that is who you are. then, and only then, can you see true, and I mean true change in your life. Because for as long as your habits and neural pathways and neuroplasticity is telling you that you are that version of you, at some point you will revert to that. It's why most people will never ever actually change. It's why most people will never actually achieve the results that they want, because they aren't willing to give up who they were for who they could be. They aren't willing to sacrifice their past for their future. And look, maybe you're completely happy with your life and you're like, no, I'm perfect. I'm perfect the way I am. I fundamentally doubt it, but maybe you are. Then cool. Then just keep living the way you are. Just keep enacting the way you are. You're good. If you're perfect and life is hunky-dory, well, fantastic. Just keep doing you. But if you're not, and there are things you want to change, and there are things you'd love to see look different in your life, well, then you need to let go of that version of you that led you to this. As we talk about it all the time, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So unless you're willing to change, unless you're willing to let go of that version of you that got you this far, well, you're not going to get any further. And the problem is that even if your life is good, and you're really, it's good and you're proud of that, but you want more, what got you to this point will not get you to the next point. What served you this far will not take you to the next thing. You have to reinvent yourself at each phase. You have to level up. You can't just do more work and double down. You need better processes. You need better situations. You need to enact different actions, habits, thought processes to get to the next phase of you. And until you are willing to let go of that previous phase, no matter how well or how poorly it served you, you must let go of it to be able to step into the next version of you. So you have to start examining, your thought processes, your habits, your actions, what things are running on autopilot, and truly come to the point and go, are these habits serving me? Are these actions serving me? And look at the places where you revert into things that aren't positive. And then start rewiring them. And you can do things. There are tactics that you can utilize to help that process along. Like, if there are certain situations in your house or whatever that you go, oh, this triggers me into overeating or drinking alcohol or whatever it is. Yes, there are fundamental things that you must address so that you catch yourself before you reach those points. But you can also address it by changing the environment. Rearrange the house, rearrange the thing, change the patterns, even down to those simple patterns. If you drive the same way home every single day and then suddenly when you get home you sit down on the couch and have a beer, drive home a different way. Take a different route. Do something like that. Rearrange the lounge room. Put the fridge in a different spot. Whatever it might be. Change the triggers that are causing you to get to that situation so that you can start making different choices. Start being conscious of the triggers. And when you catch yourself in a situation that you go, I don't want to be here anymore, go, okay, well, what caused me to make that decision? What was the prior trigger to that? And then make different choices. This is not rocket science. It's like all of the things. Becoming the greatest version of you is never going to be easy. It's just not. But it is often very simple. It starts with the habits and the actions that you have. It starts with the people you surround yourself. And it starts with making one decision and then repeating that decision over and over and over and over again until it's undeniable, until you have so much proof that you just go, this is who I am. When you reach that point, everything will change. Now, if you're uncertain on how to do it, if you're uncertain of where to begin on that, click the link in my bio or shoot me a message and let's change the game for you. Let's make you the man that you want to be. Let's start demanding greatness from your life. As I said, it's not easy, but it's damn well simple. And it starts with the physical. It starts with the conditioning. It starts with what's up here. So if you're ready for that, let's get into it. Can't wait to see you there.